I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, degenerate sleuths of the night. We gather to boldly go where others have refused. Welcome to the DT show, you salty mofos.
A man accused of killing 4 college students is behind bars, and he has ties to northeastern and central Pennsylvania. State police say 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger was arrested this morning at a home in Chestnut Hill Township.
I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
So, the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
So, get your popcorn ready and your choice of drink. Get your butt on your seat. Like, comment, and subscribe for a treat. Here we go. It's time for the show. The Drunk Turkey Show.
What's up, everybody? What in the world? Why am I on the side? Don't even know. Hope everybody's had a good day. What's going on? Happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers that are out there. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. Hope everybody had a safe weekend. Welcome back to the show. Hope I sound all right. Let me know if I'm sounding all right, the whole 9 yards. We got an interesting show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the Karen Reed case. There's still deliberations going on. The jury has not yet come back with a verdict, obviously, and so they'll continue deliberations tomorrow. And in the meantime, I thought maybe we would talk about this case. You know, I've seen a lot of people in the comment section, tell me a bunch of different things. I've expressed that I'm going to go live this week, and that an invitation out there for them to join me and express what it is that they're thinking and hearing, or why they think that this was some conspiracy, etc. And well, today is time for that show. And so I'll be dropping the link. We'll be doing a couple of minutes. If nobody's in the backstage, I'll probably if you come on and nobody's backstage, I'll let you stay on a little bit longer. But we're going to be kind of keeping it to 2 minutes. And what it is that we want to talk about today is reasonable doubt. Now, for me, I think Karen Reed is guilty. If I was on the jury, I'd be voting guilty. Now, to me, the question is it guilty beyond reasonable doubt? I believe so, but today I want to hear from you guys and see what you guys have to say. You won't be on screen, as I will be, I'll be covering it. So you won't be able, nobody will be able to see you. Just click on the link. You'll come on in, ask your questions. And if you don't want to come in, no big deal. Ask your questions in the comment section. I'll see if I can, I'll see if I see them. You know what I'm saying? Put a couple of stars and I'll ask them, answer those questions if you're in the comment section, if you don't want to come on board. But if you believe she's innocent or guilty, if you think she's guilty, also come on, hit the link. Let's talk about it. To me, and I'll get it started first and foremost, right? One of the last things that somebody asked me is, what did I think about Welcher's paint experiment Now, first and foremost, when I watched ARCA testify to what it is that they were trying to explain, I felt like ARCA missed it kind of went over their head a little bit as far as what the point was of the experiment. The experiment was not to show that this is the area or this is the way John got hit. It was to show that it was possible. For instance, had they done the paint experiment and the paint would have landed 2 to 3 inches up on Dr. Welcher's arm, then that would have proven that the injuries to the arm weren't from the tail light pieces, and that his arm from that injury wouldn't have been what caused that damage. And so the whole point was solely to determine whether or not it was plausible that his arm would have made contact in the same general area. There's no way to know his positioning of his arm, his positioning of his body, if he turned away, turned towards, turned into, turned against. No way anybody could have known that. And it's kind of like the expectations, I think, from some of those that are supporting Karen Reed are that they should have been able to recreate everything, including the way the glass shattered or the way the plastic shattered. And I think that's basically impossible to do. I mean, you can drop a glass from the same height and the same position and have the same environment 1,000 times, and you'll never get the glass shatter in the same direction. You'll get a similar starting point because of where they land and it's shattering, but you won't get the glass to shatter in the exact same manner. It's just impossible. That's like trying to expect two snowflakes to look alike. It's or two thumbprints. It's just not going to happen. And so here with Dr. Welcher's experiment, what he was trying to do and what the defense kind of missed the point on, and I'm glad they did their experiments, because what we didn't know was, can an arm break a taillight? You know, I think I've been told multiple times before ARCA's experiment was put up there that Toyota and Lexus came out and said that the polycarbonate or whatever it's called, the material that the taillight is made out of, that an arm would not have broken it. Well, and to me, it sure did look like it, and it looked very similar. I mean, they didn't line up the arm. Obviously, nobody knows how the arm was at, but they didn't line up the arm in the right positioning. There was one where you can see where the arm was a little bit too far in, and it took out the entire middle part of the taillight. There was another one where they did the clipping effect, and the elbow of the lighter arm was, when it collided, it actually hit the metal, and you could see the metal vibrate. A bend, it flex a little bit when the elbow came in contact. Again, a much lighter elbow than what John O'Keefe's arm was. And the only thing that I could think of is if that elbow would have struck that portion of the taillight instead of the rear quarter panel, the metal, then that would have shattered it. And that the way it radiated the force, it would have caused like a circular break, which is exactly what you see on the taillight, in my opinion. And so to me, that was not to prove a collision. Now, the defense has argued so many times that, you know, in order for, you know, to find her guilty, you have to prove that there was a collision. Was there proof of a collision? I think there's significant proof of a collision. You know, you have taillight pieces that are found at the scene. You have micro pieces found in his T-shirt. You have injuries, you know, abrasions to his arm that are, in my opinion, you know, pretty consistent with what we would see with the taillight if you would have leaned up against it. And we have our first guest. Now, I see that your name is at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and adjust your name so that your full name doesn't come out. We're just going to keep your first name. And then give me 1 second. I need to, so we have somebody here that wants to come up. But I want to ensure that we protect her identity. How's it going?
Hey, Daniel.
How are you? How's it going? Who are you talking to?
I'm Lori.
Hi, Lori. How's it going? Welcome to the show.
Oh, great. I'm sitting here in the dark because we're without electricity. We got bad weather going on.
Oh, no. Well, I hope everything's okay. We just had some bad weather ourselves. And,
yeah, I heard you say that yesterday. Am I okay, not echoey or anything?
You sound great to me. You sound great to me.
I haven't done this before, so I don't know.
No problem. So tell me, what are your thoughts? Where do you what do you think first and foremost? You think she's innocent? She's guilty? Where do you stand?
First, I think if they wanted to convict her, they should have had you um, as a consultant, not the people that they had, because you convinced me that she probably did it. But they do not.
Hmm.
I think that the things that you say and the little um, pieces on the tail light,
Yeah.
with that, I can see where that would scratch the arm. I kind of had a hard time, like, with all of the scratches, but when you showed that on your show, I was very much like, oh wow, I can totally see that. And then after the blue paint thing, where it showed the area,
Hmm.
I I again could totally see that being reasonable. But they didn't particularly bring that out in the trial. Um, and so again, if they if they wanted to convict her, they probably should have been consulting you. Uh,
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you.
the things I have a hard time with, though, are the that no medical person would say that those were wounds from a car. And I know that you've been severely bit by a dog.
Mhm.
And oh, wow, our electricity just came on. Um, I
Good to
know
see you.
you've been severely bit by a dog. And that was a very bad dog bite. I'm turning this fan off so it won't be so loud.
Okay.
But I think if that was a dog bite, and that the most uh, convincing witness to me was the Dr. La.
La Posada. I probably said that
Yes.
wrong, but I think I know you
No,
talking about.
you didn't. I was like Lollapalooza, like that other guy the other night. I can't ever get it right.
Yeah.
But because she had a lot of really, I mean, she's a medical examiner for 40 years. So I had a really hard time going, yeah, no, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
See, for me though, here's my problem with it. Right, is that there was about 4 doctors, I believe, maybe 5, that spoke on the injuries,
Hmm.
and she's the only one that said that there was a puncture, and
Yeah.
so all the even the defense's other experts said that these were abrasions and that they weren't punctures. So she's the only one. Now let's get to me. Let's look at it logically about the scratches, in my opinion. So most of the doctors agreed that there were abrasions, superficial, and no puncture. Now, if you were to have a scratch, what part do you think would be the deepest part of the scratch? Would it be the beginning part, the middle, or the end? Now, the beginning part may not be very strong. The middle part could be stronger depending on where the most of pressure is applied. But at the end of a scratch, I think we can agree that pressure is being pulled off and you should see a tapering of a scratch. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So,
I'm I have a degree in animal science, so I have fairly good understanding of dog bites and stuff like that. But let me
well, let
propose
me,
this to you.
well, let me, hold on.
Oh, go
So
ahead. Sorry.
this is John's arm. Can you see his arm?
Uh-huh.
Now, if you look at the top right here, let me move my head. So right around where my head is, these are the deeper parts, and then it tapers off this way. You can kind of
Yeah.
see this here. It tapers off this way. So the scratches are going in this motion. Now, how could a dog bite somebody pulling that way?
Okay. Yeah,
And not leave dog hair, because you would have to have him in a headlock.
if you're yeah, I guess so. If you're I was thinking he's blocking, trying to block
Yeah,
But
but
I see what you're saying about having it in a headlock. My thought, because that there weren't punctures, I have a healer,
uh-huh.
uh, and I'm sure you're familiar. Like, yeah, I know you have pit bulls,
Hmm.
but healers are pretty feisty.
Hmm.
But mine's not aggressive. Well, I don't know. My son has messed with him since he was a baby, and so he's pretty um you know rough with him,
Hmm.
and he'll bite him but not puncture. He'll, like, my son, is his name is Stetson. He'll pull his arm away and it oftentimes will scratch because
Hmm.
his teeth are sharp, especially more when he was a puppy,
Hmm.
because his teeth were um more sharp. But he
Yeah.
also had a little terrier that he was a little bit of a nipper too. He was a biter, and he didn't have the teeth to bite really hard or anything, and he would scratch as well.
Yeah.
Like, his teeth would scratch. So that's kind of what I thought when I saw those, is like, oh, well, that's not punctures from a dog's teeth. That's scratches from a dog's teeth. And then the little, incisors, those make scratches too. Like, the little terrier dog got, like,
Yeah, but
I pulled them apart one time and he bit me, and that's what it
mhm,
looked like on my arm. But yeah,
right,
I
but
see what you're saying about it going the opposite way. I guess maybe, unless his arm was, what if his arm was out like that?
okay, so if his arm is out, I mean that's a lot of times for him to get
Yeah, it is.
partially bit. Plus, John was 6'1".
Hmm.
German Shepherd would have to jump up.
Well,
Where are the front paw marking on his chest? I had markings on my chest because where I got bitten, I lifted my arm up,
yeah,
and I'm not 6'1". I'm just slightly shorter than that. Uh, but I had markings on my chest, and the dog that bit me was a lot larger than what Chloe is, and so
yeah.
he still needed to jump up to get to me or to keep me. And so, if this dog is biting that many times, how is not one tooth capture, does not puncture once, and then
So,
this dog has bitten somebody, and this
yeah.
dog, when they did bite, it did leave a puncture wound. So it's not consistent with what the wounds we're seeing here.
Do we know that?
Yes, I've seen the accident. I've seen the injury to the lady's
Okay.
hand. In fact, I can tell that that they used a wound vac on her hand because it's the same triangular hole that I have on my arm.
Really?
Yeah,
And see, I mean, you have that life experience that, I mean, we have no idea what the jury's life experience is.
yeah.
And again, what value that would be. But they didn't convey to me those things in the trial. They left a lot. I really, really did not like Brennan. I felt like he was badgered. Even his own witnesses, just over and over and over, asking the same question. I'm like, oh my God, really? And I was thinking, if I'm on that jury, I'm not listening to this guy because he's on my nerves, like, really bad.
See, I got the sense where when he was asking people over and over questions were because like they didn't want to answer the question. Like, for instance, Dr. Wolf from ARCA didn't want to admit that a lighter arm would make less damage and that you would have to account for it with the speed, even though Dr. Rentschler also said no, you have to do that. And so he admitted to it, but the problem was that the ARCA witness was just being very, very biased, in my opinion, and very not necessarily disgruntled, but combative almost. I mean, it's similar to La Posada when Hank says good afternoon and she's like, well, it's not afternoon for another 6 minutes or
Oh
something like
yeah.
that. Like,
You could tell she did not like him at all. And I
but
kind of,
why?
well, I think they have history, because
That's
when
true.
he
I
got
heard
up
that.
there, yeah, he got up there and started, when the jury wasn't in the room, and he started saying all those things, you gathered that they had history. I
That's
think
true.
there's a reason she doesn't like him, whatever that is. We don't know, and the jury wasn't in the room to see that, but.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
they have history.
Yeah, I think he had used her once or twice, and then he stopped using her, and I think may have said something negative about why he stopped using her. And so I think you're accurate on that. That's absolutely correct. I think
Yeah.
that could have been because of the bad blood there, potential
Yeah,
bad blood there.
she was very, because I thought she was, this is a sweet little old lady, you know, and then he
Boom,
got
she
up there and she
changed.
was like, rah.
She
She did
did, she
not like
did.
him at all.
That's true. That is true.
But I just had a hard time like with the reasonable doubt is my thing, and
Okay. Well, what's
one
the what part do you think is reasonable? Well, let me
the
ask you this. Do you think it's reasonable now, knowing the direction of the scratches, knowing that there was no dog DNA, and knowing that had he had these scratches here, that the dog would have been positioned most likely in between his arm and his chest, and there's no dog hair? How reasonable is it to say that this is from a dog?
I agree that the dog DNA is uh, like why isn't there dog DNA? But here's the other part I had a really hard time with. Why are these people acting so sketchy? Like,
Which people?
what's up with the butt dials and all of the things that they did? Here's what I really thought, especially after I saw what you know showed and how it could have happened. I think this is another OJ situation. These people want her to be guilty so much that they're doing things, you know, to make sure she's guilty and she's going to get off because they want her to be guilty. That's
Okay,
kind of how I felt. I felt
so
like they act so sketchy. What are they doing? Why are
so
they acting that way?
so you bring up the butt dials. Let's talk about the butt dials first. Um, when it comes to the butt dials, have you ever had one?
Oh, yeah, but they go to
Okay,
voicemail. I have all these weird
sometimes.
voicemails too.
All right. So if somebody were to do a butt dial, let's play this out. If somebody were to do a butt dial, that means that their phone was maneuvered in a way that it thought that somebody made a phone call.
Mm,
If it goes from, because it's ringing, right? And then once it rings, then it usually has, like, your phone usually goes to an icon that is like either hang up or put on hold, typically, right? You have those two different icons.
mhm.
Isn't that generally in the same area as where your talk button is? And so if you're calling somebody and the face of that screen is showing the calling screen, and then as soon as the voicemail picks up, and now the phone, shows it as it's now been received, now it has two options. And if whatever was pressing it is still pressing it, wouldn't it hang it up?
If whatever is pressing it
Yeah,
is
like
still pressing it,
whatever caused the initial call. If it was like if you have it in your pocket, and let's just say your your skin is just positioned in a way that it mimics your thumb on the call button. Well, once that call happens, the screen changes. Now,
yeah,
once the voicemail picks it up, the screen changes again, because it'll go from calling to
yeah.
answered. Okay, so now if your skin is still pressed up in the same general area where the call button was, and now the hang up button is there, isn't it likely that it's also going to hang up?
But multiple times, is that reasonable?
It's actually happened to me before. My
Ha
dad called me
I
one
mean,
time,
it
like,
hasn't happened to me. What happens to me is it ends up in my sweaty pocket, and like I'm
yeah,
on the phone with somebody for 20 minutes, like being an idiot, you know, because it's in my
right.
sweaty pocket. But that was
Okay, so
one of the things.
okay, so butt dials. What can be advantage from a butt dial? What can you gather from a butt dial? Or like just a call that doesn't go to voicemail, a hang up. What is the advantage of doing that? I don't understand where that plays in the,
Well,
okay,
what I was
how does
wondering is,
that
are they
equal
looking
to,
for his phone?
so you think they're calling him looking for his phone?
That was
That's
my
a good indicator.
question. I don't know that I think that. That was, again, reasonable doubt is, I have questions. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't necessarily believe that she didn't do it, because
All
I
right, well,
think that you present a very good case.
let's go down that avenue though. The avenue of they were looking for his phone. So do you think that Jen McCabe had to have been in on this because she was the one that was calling, correct?
Yes, I mean she would have had to, but I saw I saw the whole um Apple Watch, like her blood pressure, or not blood pressure, heart rate not going up, and I thought that's telling too. I mean, how do you do something like that and your heart rate's not going 90 to nothing? I mean, I
Exactly.
would have had to
That's
put
exactly
my
the
Apple
point.
Watch on my dog.
You-
But then the
you-
dog's all crazy too, right? I don't know.
Hey, Truth. Hey, how's it going, TNT? Yeah, no, that's exactly where I was going with. I was like, all right, let's play this role out. If Jen McCabe was involved in this, when did she get involved? And if it was if at the time of the butt dials at 1240, why is it that at 1249 her heart rate is at 66
Yeah.
beats per minute, 70 beats per minute? Like at 1210, and this is way before John Keith gets there, it's at 96. And it really doesn't go up at all until, well, I think it was, it's at 84, 79, 71. Doesn't jump up until 541.
Yeah. When
538.
she's called by Karen
When
or
right
the daughter.
after Karen Reed calls her,
Right.
and tells her that John never made it home.
Right.
Now, what do you think about that? She calls Karen and says John didn't make it home, and I mean, Karen calls Jen and says John didn't make it home. She immediately hangs up, calls Carrie Roberts and says John was hit by a plow.
Yeah. And I think that's very suspicious.
Doesn't that tell
but then
you
I
that?
also think, do I believe Hank Brennan?
No. That's what that's what was testified to, right?
Yeah.
That was also testified to by other people. And we can attest to this because I believe that Carrie Roberts started calling people like hospitals and things like that, trying to figure out if John was there. So she did say something to that effect to her. Now, if she's calling and saying, 1 second, I left him there, and she said, no, I saw you, and she hangs up and changes her story, that to me tells me that she knew that she was busted, that she had to change her story at that moment. To me, I don't think that there was intent here. I don't think she intended to hit him. And the reason I can say that
I agree.
is because of the voicemails. John, I effing hate you. I strongly suspect that, this is my opinion and my speculation, I think they got in an argument because of the girl that lived nearby.
Yeah.
And I think that, maybe John said something or something to another. She popped it in reverse, was planning on going back to give him a piece of her mind or whatever the case may have been. And I think she thought that John punched the car. I think she thought John punched the light up.
Yeah.
She gets to her house or to his house, looks at the tail light and says, this mother effer busted my tail light, calls him John, I effing hate you.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that if nothing else, even with reasonable doubt, she was drunk. I mean, she's driving drunk. I don't know how anybody could refute that. Uh, and they're
Well, in
all
the
drunk and
state,
stupid.
right?
They're
But in the
all
state,
guilty of that.
no, I don't disagree. They all were drinking and they probably shouldn't have been driving. But in the state of Massachusetts, for murder too, it's there's no intent has to be.
Right. It's just what Hank Brennan was saying that.
And I'll ask you this in this manner. In your opinion, let me ask you this: do you believe yourself to be a reasonable person?
Yes.
All right. Do you think that somebody reversing under the influence of alcohol in the direction of somebody at over 70% throttle in freezing conditions at the start of a blizzard, do you think that you would believe that could cause death?
I don't believe they should be behind the wheel of a car in the first place. But
I understand.
and again, I don't disagree with you. My only thing is, I don't. They have raised, to me, the defense has raised reasonable doubt.
All right. What
Because
did the
they
defense?
keep having things things keep coming up in my mind. But what if? All right, and what about this? I don't know. That's my only thing. I don't disagree with you, Daniel. You are one of the most reasonable people that I
I appreciate that.
and it's why I listen to you, because you are a person of reason. My thing is that I don't feel like the state they have the burden of proof,
Right.
and I don't feel like they've met that burden of proof. And I guess my fear is I really I live in a small town where you don't want to get in trouble,
Yeah, no, I
kind
hear
of
you.
thing, and not have the right last name. And I guess so I have that kind of distrust of um that sort of situation. And I think, God, if it can, if it can happen, I say it's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to drive my I don't go out and act stupid. I
Well,
don't
I
go out and
mean, I
drink,
think
but
the
but
argument though is, did she go out there and make a mistake, or did somebody else cause his life
I
to be
know,
deceased, right?
I know,
And
and I
the
know what I
argument
think.
is right, and the argument is either Karen did it or somebody in that house did it. Now, I think that there's a couple of things that we can look at to try to break down and deduce. Now, this first
I'm so
thing,
sorry.
since
My
we're
phone.
no, it's okay. So the first thing I wanted to show everybody here, and
Nut job. Hush.
I'm gonna show this in parts because YouTube probably would take this down if I showed it all. But this is what I think basically did happen. You see?
Yeah.
All right. Now, none of her lower extremities get hit. She turns into the car, very similar to way Welcher says John did, and she flips or she rolls and lands on her back, which lands on her head. And you can see at the bottom of where she's landing, it's kind of hard to tell because there's a
Yeah.
glare. But on my screen at least, I can see a little shards of plastic there. Now, obviously, this wasn't in freezing conditions. That makes a difference. And so, so to me, I obviously think she did it. I think this is the manner that it happened. I think this shows how, because I think Arca was saying that if somebody got hit in the back, they would have traveled with the car. And I was like, that's not necessarily true. I mean, I play pool quite a bit, and I know that if you put English on the ball, and the human body is not a square, right? It's more round than square. And so, if you hit something off centered, it's going to fly off to the side, similar to how this lady did. And the one thing that I thought was the most telling thing, because the devil is in the details, right? It's the scuff mark from the pants that happened in Arca's experiment. It happened in Welcher's experiment, and it was located and present in Karen Reed's vehicle. That scuff mark from the jeans was present on all three of them in the same location.
So what do you think his head hit?
Oh, I think his head hit the ground. It's a frozen ground. It's Massachusetts, late January. I'm fairly positive that wasn't the only day it was cold or frozen. It was probably frozen for a few days that year. Already at that time, it was supposedly the worst blizzard in the history of January for the area. And so it just started. So there was just enough snow for the defense is the one that I think brought it up, that it was a small dusting. Maybe it was the prosecution, that there was only enough to track a cat at that time. So his head would have collided with the hard ground. And, basically, the neurosurgeon, the brain surgeon, what he said is you could tell that it was collided with the ground because there was no caved in aspect. It was like it spread out. The force spread out. Like, had he hit like a step, or had he hit even the wing of the SUV, or had he hit or like a baseball bat or any of those type of things with the same amount of force, would have caused his skull to concave. It would have caved in.
I was thinking concrete. Like maybe I don't know about. We have a flagpole in our yard, and we have concrete around it.
Right.
So I mean, she talked about scratches on.
That's
I don't know if
possible.
there's concrete around their flagpole, or rock or something. But
right.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I think that the scratches to the arm aren't necessarily the pieces of glass being shot out and exploding and cutting his arm that way. What I think is when he makes collision, when the body collides with the taillight, it's forcing the pieces of taillight to shatter, and he's pressing up against it now with his body before the force of the car pushes him off. It's a fraction of a millisecond of what's going on, but or a fraction of a second of what's going on, or a couple of seconds during this process. But he's pushing in all of his force, which includes his body weight, not just a 6-pound arm floating in the air. It's his whole body weight being forced into it, and that's what's causing this superficial scratches. They're not very deep at all.
Yeah,
they appear to be deep, but that's because we're looking at it from a camera. It's a 2D image of a three-dimensional object, so depth is kind of hard to tell. You know what I'm saying?
right. And all the medical examiners called them abrasions, not cuts, not lacerations. They were abrasions. I mean, agreed with that.
So I got a question though, real quick. So the defense's argument was, when it came to the collision aspect, they said if you can't prove the collision, then you can't prove that something happened. So if we can't prove that there was a fight, or that a fight didn't cause these injuries, shouldn't that already also dispel the conspiracy of a fight?
Oh, I don't think it was a fight. I don't
What do you
know.
think
I mean,
happened? What do you,
I
if it
don't.
wasn't Karen
I
Reed?
think what happened is what you say, but what you think happens and what you can prove in court are two different things.
Right, so
you
we
can
can
think
prove.
somebody did something, but if you can't prove they did it, that's where I'm at. And not that I don't think she did it. I don't think she meant to do it, like you. And I do think she did it, but I don't think they proved it. It's not to me whether that I'm like, oh my God, Karen Reed is innocent and innocent woman's, being framed. I don't think that. I think that they just didn't prove their argument, and that's what our law says.
So what do you think would constitute as proof?
I think she had a damn good defense attorney. I mean, he's very believable and he's likable.
Right. But what do you
And
think would
Hank Brennan is
constitute?
not. And
I don't
doesn't
know.
it come down to that a lot? Whether, like, whose story you believe and who you like?
I agree that
I
does come
guess.
down to it a lot. I think a lot of people, though, are looking at this through the lens of the first
Oh, and
trial.
let me say, I don't like her. And I think that if she wasn't, and I don't know what I can and can't say, but if she wasn't so bitchy the first trial, she probably would have gotten off.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I didn't watch the first trial, but I've heard that. I've
I
heard
didn't
that quite a
either,
bit.
but I watched that special and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, if she just has that resting bitch face, And I'm like, if
Well,
she
I
would
don't think I don't think her
smile.
face is resting. I think she's like, it's not so much that. I mean, she's got some. I don't know. I think she's got some snares. She's got some looks that she gives to certain people,
Yeah,
and then she smirks in the wrong and inappropriate times
yeah.
as well, in my
She
opinion.
just
And so, yeah,
She
I
just
wouldn't be
doesn't have
surprised.
that. She's a kind of obnoxious, I guess. I don't know. She has that
Yeah,
obnoxious personality disorder, I guess. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't think she's likable at all. So it's
So,
not a.
what would prove to you that there was what that would be proof in this case? What would you consider proof that she hit him?
If a medical examiner could say
But it wasn't the
more
car accident.
definitively that that was consistent with something they had seen, I would feel better about that one. I guess of all of the things, I can reason away. But I'm a science teacher, so science is a real big thing for me. So when even their neurologist, I didn't feel like I felt like he was more of a liability for them than an asset. I was like, this is your guy.
Mhm.
So I felt like the medical people were the would have been
Well,
the
I
slam
think
dunk for me.
I think what even La Posada and the neurosurgeon agreed on was that the injuries, especially to the eyes, the raccoon eyes, were from him colliding with
Yeah.
the ground. Now,
Yes,
the
absolutely.
reason why the
It was a blunt
medical
force trauma.
examiner, in my opinion, can't say that this is from a car accident is because technically it's not the injuries from the car colliding with him that caused his death. It's him
Right.
colliding with the ground. So had he landed differently, let's just say he would have landed on his side, 100% he would have survived this.
Yeah.
You know, so it was not the fact that the car colliding into his body is what killed him, because obviously you can't say that. I mean, there's just scratches, and then he has a huge orbital fracture to the top of his head. Now, I mean, not orbital fracture, a rear skull
No, he
fracture to
did.
the back of his head.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
it cracked. It hit so hard that what they're saying is it cracked these small bones here. That's it was shocked me that the neurosurgeon was saying that a third of the people live. Yeah, but what he wasn't saying is a third of them live in their vegetables. Nobody survives
maybe,
that.
I don't know. I
And
mean,
he wasn't surviving that. He wasn't coming out of that.
well, I mean, that's what
She
the
killed
other doctors
if
said
she
too.
hit him. If she didn't kill him, he was gonna be as good as brain dead, because he was. I know enough about brain science, because biology is my thing. That yeah, no,
Yeah, and he
that is
very
a
well.
very significant injury that very few people come back
So
from, or no,
correct.
none that I know
So
of.
so the defense's witness also mentioned that as well. Then he would have died pretty soon, which is probably why there's no bruising and things
Yeah,
like that. You can't bruise
that's
when you
what I
die,
think.
when you're dead. You can't bleed. You can't pump out blood either. So when do you think that Karen Reed pulled out that piece of glass out of his face?
I think that she pulled it out when she said she did, but I think that it didn't spurt. What happens is, it pulled out, and probably there was like a trickle. She was hyped
So
up
she's a
and
liar.
crazy. That may be true, but I think that was just her perception. Just that whole, you saw on the um video how crazy she was that morning. People tend to
Mhm.
exaggerate, um, especially with blood.
I don't know. I mean, she's had a lot of other statements that she said after the fact too, because that's not a statement that was made at the scene. That was a statement about the blood coming out, was made in an interview later
Yeah,
on. So I
you're
think
right.
that's a little bit weird.
She did say the word spurt, and I'm like, blood wasn't spurting, lady. I mean, but like I said, people do tend to exaggerate blood.
Right. And
But
so to me,
anyway,
I think this image here that I have on here, and these images are going to be what kind of proof to me that there's definitely a collision. You have a
oh
body in the ground. Two, you have tail light pieces or debris field out there where the body was. You also have a video of the vehicle before anybody touched the vehicle with damage to the vehicle. So here,
yeah,
this is after she has tapped John O'Keefe's car. Now, the one thing about this also is that if you look at John O'Keefe's car, he has his bottom bumper sticks out. If you
hmm
look right here,
yeah. There's no
her
way. I
bottom
don't.
bumper sticks out too. So you can tell right here, just even from this angle, that what would have collided if she would have backed up into him would have been the bottom part. That tail light wasn't broken. And this vehicle was also in the garage. Now, garage isn't heated, but it's not also out in the elements. So it's not like it was when she was driving earlier and collided with him, where the vehicle had been on in the elements. The light had been on for a significant amount of time, or for a while. It wasn't on for a short period of time. It had been on for a little bit. The heat was already mixing of the light with the cold, temperature. So the vehicle backing out of a encased garage is not going to have the same effect. The tail light is not going to have the same temperature at that moment. Now, sure, as it drives off and it's out there in the elements, it's probably going to drop. But there are no pieces of glass underneath the
Right.
or tail light. A lot of people were looking at this part here and in the corner and trying to say that this part here was that part there. It's not. That part actually goes way over here.
hmm
And so this part here is right here on the inside part of the taillight. It's on the inside part of the taillight. And it was found by the CERT team, SERT team. It's right here. It's on the inside part of the taillight. The inside part of that taillight next to that tailgate is missing already.
Yeah.
So it's gone. It's missing. It's already gone there. And, that tells me she hit something. Now, some people say, hey, the distance, well, she went forward first and then in reverse. But if she hit something else there and caused that debris field out there, unless it was a floating arm, it would have caused more damage. I mean, am I wrong?
No, no, absolutely. Though one thing I did think about that I had a question about, and I know I'm going to get this wrong because I'm not a mechanical person. What about the light diffusers or whatever they said, like actually makes light in the tail light lamp? Do you know
I
what
don't
I'm
know. I
talking
mean,
about? They were saying that in this photo right here, like there would be no light coming from the tail lamp. Did you catch that part?
see, that's the thing though. Like, we don't know the exact impact, how it was hit, if his elbow was in a certain position. There's no way to tell that. There's no way to
But
tell
then
that.
they were saying that it was that later on that those were broken. So
I, I don't know. I didn't see that
that's
in
what
the
I'm.
trial.
That's again the things that I'm saying that they act suspiciously. I think they probably helped those things along.
I don't know. That's the
Again,
first time I heard that.
thinking that she um is guilty, and they want to make sure, again, a whole OJ situation where they want her, they know she did it, they're gonna make sure. What did they say? They said it, the proctor said it in his text messages that she's gonna fry or something like that,
Right.
like making sure she's going down. I just think that they probably, helped it along, and they ended up shooting themselves in the foot with that kind of thing. They didn't trust the system.
Hmm.
So if that happens, that's on them. They didn't trust the system, and that's what happened in OJ, right? They didn't trust the system.
Yeah. And yeah, truth and transparency. If you want to explain to me the battery temperature and how this proves reasonable doubt,
Oh
come on
my
up.
goodness.
I don't believe it does. I think that I think it's pretty obvious what occurred. I think his body was on top of it.
Yeah, I do
Uh,
too.
you know, and I think that played a role. So, kind of break down what I see here. And I'm glad she brings up the battery temperature, because the battery temperature was something that I wanted to point out as well. So, it kind of comes down to, when do you think that John O'Keefe ended up outside, right? Because the argument is that he went inside the house. Maybe he was in there. He was in there for a while. I mean, if we're going to try to say that the battery temperature didn't drop down significantly enough because he was inside, even though it did drop, and it had a significant drop throughout that entire time compared to what it normally was. How did it get back outside? Because it wasn't found inside; it was found under his body. So there was no steps that were taken. So how did it get back outside? So to me, the battery temperature even more proves the fact that he was outside and his body was on top of it.
Mhm.
Had he been inside that whole time, even if he was in a basement, the basement is going to be cold, but it's not going to be 40. I mean, I don't know. I've not been in a basement in a long time, so maybe I'm wrong. But I would suppose that the basement isn't going to be the same temperature that it is outside. I'm gonna assume that it's not, because I've been in some cold places before in the winter. I've been to Colorado in the winter. I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania in the winter. I've never spent any time in a basement, but I've spent some time in a garage. And I know that a garage is more, keen to be colder, in my opinion, because, well, the wind is hitting the side of the garage door. It's not insulated, those type of things. It's next to the house, not necessarily underneath the house where the house is insulated. So if he was inside the entire time, how did his battery temperature even start to decrease? And if he took no more steps, His phone was found outside. When did they put him out there? At what point did they put him outside? Well, even if he was in the garage, like I said, I've been in some garages. It is nowhere near the temperature in the garage that it is outside. It is still colder in the garage. I'll give you that. That is colder in a garage than it would be in a basement. But how does he get his phone outside? If the battery temperature is not dropping because it's in the garage, well, he still need to get it outside under his body. How does it get there without reporting any steps? What do you think, Lori? How do you think?
I don't. I think it was out there. I think she did it, but like I said, I think that she did it, but it wasn't necessarily proved in court. That's my stance.
Well, I think that a lot of people are going to say, well, she did it. Maybe they're not going to, I think that reasonable people will be like, well, I don't know if I feel comfortable charging her with murder too, but I feel comfortable charging with DUI manslaughter. And I think that's what's going to end up being the case.
Probably. And is that what it would be in Texas? I'm not sure.
No, Texas is different.
What would it be in Texas?
Oh man, Lena, I only have a few more minutes to be honest with you. I have a Steelers podcast that I do. That's why we're doing this one so early.
Oh, I got to steal the show tonight, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, nobody else jumped on. I was going to give you. I would only give you 2 minutes, but nobody else jumped on.
I really want to talk to Daniel.
No, it's okay. Like I said, I'll keep you on until somebody else jumps on, but nobody else did. But I have a hard stop like in about 7 minutes.
Yeah. You got to go do your football thing.
Yeah. Monday nights, guys. Tomorrow we can do this. Yeah, we'll work something out, Lena. But yeah, for those that are interested, it starts at it'll be 9 p.m. on the eastern side. So in about 35 minutes or 40 minutes or so, it'll start. But I got to get everything ready for it. It is on Steel Curtain Network. If you guys are Steeler fans, go check us out. It's a show called the Steelers Hangover. It's myself and Shannon White, little shameless plug. So if you guys want to check that out and go check out my talk on the Steelers, you'll see me there. Yeah, to me, the battery temperature, I have it here because I had all this stuff set up for my friend Chloe. I mean, not Chloe. Sorry, Chloe. I mean, you're my friend too, but for my friend Connor, who is a big free Karen Reed, and she wanted to talk to me about certain things, and I was like, all right, well, let's talk about them, because she was saying that the flight of stairs were him going up and down into the basement, but those have been proven to have happened while he was still in the car, and this is where his phone was during those locations. And this is actually from a topography map website that I pulled up for that day, and you can see that over here to the right, like it is significantly different. It's much hilly there. Over here on the left side where it's blue, it is more flat, but because there's a change in elevation, that's why it's recorded that way. But even at that, he's still in the car until 12:31. And I know that there's some question about some seconds there about when the last time he took steps and the last time that his phone was on, or that he used his phone, and the recorded data of her going in reverse. So but outside of that, I mean, it's just a few seconds. To me, I think it's pretty reasonable to believe that, all right, you have the damage to the vehicle, you have the micro pieces of taillight on the shirt, you have her voicemails where she's upset. And like I said, to me, I think she thought she hit him, but I think she thought like it was more of him hitting the car, like punching it.
Yeah, punching it.
Because she got mad. And then she also made the statement, though. There's the one thing that really bothers me, though. She called him at 12:54 and said, John, no one knows where you are. How would she have known that?
I questioned that too. Why didn't she call the people that they were with and ask? Did she not have their numbers or anything? Did she not? I mean, well, she had to have. She had that one girl that she called at 5 whatever in the morning.
Yeah.
Why didn't she call and say, hey, have you seen John? He didn't come home last night. I wouldn't immediately go to, he got hit by a snowplow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's because somebody saw him. And this is the other thing that I had brought up, because it's not just the battery data. You have to tie the battery data in with the health data, with his phone GPS, and also with the all that combined, right? So for him to have been in the house, there was a 5-second accuracy deal where he was in the house for possibly 5 seconds, but there's no footsteps, there's no nothing, battery doesn't, the whole 9 yards, right? But it's a 5-second thing because the accuracy changes, and then it fluctuates after that throughout the night.
Yeah.
I do have one person that's going to jump on real quick. I just want to give them 2 minutes because they jumped on. That'll be
I just want to say thank you, and thank you for all the work you do. And again, if they wanted to convict her, they should have consulted you. You got your stuff together.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Alrighty,
Bye-bye.
Peyton, you are on. What's going on?
DT, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good deal. Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller. I really like what you're doing here. I was hoping to see some, maybe a few more callers, but I really like this. I think this is beneficial to everyone,
Yeah, 100%. I had a lot of people telling me that they felt like there was a lot of reasonable doubt. I don't understand. I didn't watch the first trial, so there's a lot of it that I know that I don't know. So I thought it'd be a good idea to catch up.
Sure, and I'll make this brief. Here's where I'm at, and this is just my opinion. I think it's important that everyone's respectful.
Right.
I think there's a lot of, you read some of these comments and gets a little heated, and there's some nice things being said about, people's families and people's kids and stuff, and that's a little uncalled for as far as I'm concerned, right? But here's where I stand. I drive for a living, so I've listened to the majority of the first and the second trial, not everything, but the majority. I think you're right. It's going to come down to reasonable doubt. I personally do believe that she's guilty. But the question is, has that been proven? That's obviously for the jury to decide. But I don't think it was intentional. But whatever happened, happened. Karen Reed, she's got a lot going for her. She's intelligent. I'll say it on air. She's attractive. She's very smart. She had a great career. So I think that's where a lot of this comes from. I don't know that most people could see her doing this. I mean, she doesn't look like a killer. I mean, I'll give her that 100%, but that's where I stand on it. I could see this one going both ways. I really could, but the defense didn't argue the car data, saying that she backed up, the broken taillight. It just seems a little more open and shut. And maybe I'm missing something. I will also say that I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything. I'm not that person. But I'm open minded, and that's what I have to say about it. I just wanted to hop on and tell you what I thought. Really love your channel. You're doing great work.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, my man. I appreciate that. And I get it. To me, the biggest, I guess, hiccup in this case is Proctor. I mean, and nobody called him up. So to me, if I'm on the jury, I'm thinking that he got fired specifically for this case. And to a certain extent, he did. They spoke about another agency quite a bit. And I wish they would have allowed the jury to know that the other agency basically cleared them of any wrongdoing, and to that extent of like framing, covering up, tampering with evidence, any of that stuff. None of that was founded. Yet they kind of just let the jury know that there was another investigation that went on, and the jury can come up with their own ideas. As far as they know, the FBI investigated Proctor and filed charges against him, and that's why he was fired. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that was a little bit something not in favor of the prosecution for it to be displayed out in that way. And so we'll be surprised. When do you think I'll ask you one last thing before I let you go. When do you think the verdict comes in?
I'd say tomorrow, late tomorrow.
Absolutely. Oh, you think tomorrow?
We'll see. Generally, obviously, the way it goes, usually it's better for the prosecution. The quicker it is, usually. We saw that in the Alec Murdaugh trial. Quick verdict, usually guilty. So they got that going. I will say briefly, I know you got to get going. Karen Reed, she had a great defense. She had some of the best attorneys in America on this case.
That's
She
true.
really did. She put a lot of money into this. So if nothing else, I mean, a heck of a job on both sides. Nothing but a great job. As far as everything I saw, you know, there were some hiccups, definitely. You know, I think we saw a few things, but overall, I think everybody did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. I think you gotta also add a few supporters there in paying for her support. I know you said she paid a lot of money for it. I think there's a lot of people out there wearing pink that paid a lot of money for it too. And so I've heard that her defense team has scrounged up quite a bit of money for this case. You know, but all more, you know, if she's found guilty, paying that amount of money with all those hiccups and everything else, the optics of it, I mean, that should say something about the evidence in the case. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, have a good one. Thanks. Bye. All righty, guys. Let's say thank you to Truth and Transparency coming in with a 199 super sticker. We got Midwest also came in with a 199 super sticker. And then we have Renee coming in as being the newest YouTube member. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to be on my Steelers podcast in about 30 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, you guys have a safe week. I'll be back probably tomorrow. Peace.
But it's too late now. I remember you and me, and how careless we could be.
All day and all night, we'd stay up, it felt so right. We were so young, we were so dumb. We would get drunk and then hook up. We were okay, we were alright, staying awake till the sunrise. We were in love, couldn't stop us, like a good drug, never run.
We hook up in my car, driving so far, play you guitar, you'd show me your art, let down our guards, think with our hearts, stare at the stars, we were never apart, drinking too young, way too much fun, out in the sun, open when it's gone, took you to prom, dance to our song, dance all night long till the lights come on.
How careless we got. It's too late now. I remember you and me. How careless we got.
It's too late now, I remember everything, and how careless we could be, and how careless we could be.